he's not well. And I said, I have had this idea about doing a radio show. And she laughed and she said, well, when do you want to start? So I came up with this idea for what has now become Papertown Roots Radio. And it's a radio show. Started out as 2 hours. Last month we went to 3 hours every Tuesday and Thursday night. And I play bluegrass, classic country. And I mean classic country, not modern country, classic country, that I grew up listening to on that same station, and a lot of gospel music. And the fun part of it is I get to talk with the people that listen and tell stories from nearly 40 years of traveling. And, a lot of the people that I play, I've played on their records or played with them, at shows or whatever. So I'm not famous, but I know a lot of famous people. So it's fun to tell stories and the people enjoy it. And it's really taken off. I'm grateful to say. And for the last month, we've been averaging over 10,000 people in our area alone, just that we can calculate by that stream the show. WPTL is still a small town country station, but with forward thinking ideas, they stream, they have a streaming service on the internet. You can get it anywhere in the world. And they also have a smartphone app. I found out about it by when we were on the road with Balsam Range. Some of us would get on that WPTL app and listen to Pisgah football. And so with that ability to track who is listening to the program, for the last month, we've been averaging over 10,000 people just in our area every episode. This week, Tuesday night, we were just shy of 11,000, and that's just in our region. So it's the format is or the idea behind it. I told Zeb Smathers, he came and sat in a few nights and having fun. I kind of have an open door policy, and I'm trying to create, it's a nostalgic thing that a lot of us grew up in a small town where the radio station was your internet. I grew up in Canton in the 60s and 70s, and my mother, I always joked with everybody, my mother got up on every morning, turned on the stove and turned on the radio. And that's where you got your weather, your news, your, school closings or snow day reports or whatever it was. They listened to the swap shop, the obituaries, but all of these things that are still happening. But there's a sense of nostalgia for me in that regard. And, those DJs back then, some of you knew those guys like Jimmy Haney and Cliff Hanna, wonderful men. And you grew up with them. And even if you didn't know what, you couldn't pick them out of a lineup, they were part of your family. And the goal and idea is to try to recreate that sense of community and belonging that is, especially during this pandemic time, is so lacking. And sadly, something that, like my son will never understand, that sense of community that was so huge back then, because everybody was listening to that radio station that morning just to see what was going on. And I tell people, and it's been really cool because it has globalized on me. I have friends that listen from Germany that we met over there playing with Balsam Range 3 or 4 years ago. We did a European tour swing, and several, the people will pop on the station and you can tell, and it's friends from, like, it'll say Heidelberg, Germany, and I regularly talk to people during the program from Montana, a lot of people from Texas, just all over the country. And it's so much fun. And I told them I'm trying to create a digital or cloud-based Mayberry, basically. I said, man, we're just one step away from having an online feed store. A place where people, my dad used to go to Wheeler's feed store, and he worked graveyard for the railroad. Every afternoon, he would get up about 4 and he'd tell my mom, well, I'm going to the office. And that meant he was going to Wheeler's feed store. That's where all the men in Canton hung out and told lies and carried on, sold dogs back and forth and whatnot. And anyway, there's a sense of community and nostalgia that I'm trying to recreate. And not only that, but to play really good music that's hard to find anymore. How radio is, it's still a huge thing. It's still the biggest form of entertainment, that people have. But we all know the world's changed, and so much, and there's so many other distractions and whatnot. And I think people are finding it refreshing to put this program on and just turn everything else off. And it's like it's kind of an old time radio show. We have from time to time, I'll have guests come in and we'll play live music over the air. So it's a Canton thing, but we've sort of tried. I tell people every episode, I'm sitting in Canton, North Carolina, but wherever you are in the world, you're in Papertown tonight. It's a frame of mind. So in the meantime, we've been doing that since August the 11th, and it's kind of, it's really blossomed on me, and I'm thankful for that. But it's going all over the world, and really taking off here regionally too. So I can't complain at all. It's fun for me to do in lieu of not being able to travel and seeing friends around the world that we've made over the last 14 years with Balsam Range. So that's kind of the whole story of what's going on. It's really been a lot of fun. And with that, that's kind of what's going on. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them or do whatever I can about Balsam Range or the radio or whatever else.
Tim, thank you for bringing us that update. This is Steve McNeil.
Yes, sir.
I grew up in a small town in Georgia, and I remember listening to radio all the time, like you said. Every morning at breakfast, we would sit and listen to the radio while we ate. I remember listening to our local AM station. I think it was 1964 when Cassius Clay beat Sonny Liston on the radio. And I've also known Bill Reck from when I was in the Haywood Club back in the 80s. And Bill's a fine guy. And
he sure is.
You get a chance to see him, tell him hello from me.
I will do that. His daughter, Terrell, has kind of he's actually put her in charge and basically signed everything off to her. Bill's health is not that great. And, but I'll tell you how it came about. Balsam Range plays at the Canton Labor Day thing. And we, have 10 to 12,000 people, depending on who you ask, every time we do it. And, there I was up on stage looking out at this ocean of people in my little hometown of 4,500 people, thinking how wonderful this is. And I was just talking to the crowd about the nostalgia of, from where I'm standing on this stage, I can see the football field where I practiced when I was a little boy, and I don't know how we didn't get brown lung, running the wind sprints in the shadow of the paper mill, but, and I mentioned the nostalgia of how music's a huge part of my life because of WPTL. And I didn't know Terrell had brought Bill that night, and they were in the crowd, and they contacted me after that, and we began to talk. And it's been a good thing because Bill has built that station up, but it's Bill's world, and understandably so. It was our Canton and somewhat of a Haywood County thing. And when Terrell became involved, his daughter, she shared it. She didn't change a thing except made it to where you could get it online, and also took it to the FM side where it sounds great. The reach is huge now, and now it's digital, so you can get it anywhere in the world. So it's really a cool thing. But I know that's the whole point. You can remember listening to those people when you were a kid. You were hoping Jimmy Hayne would say, well, no school in Haywood County today. That was the happiest moment of your life, And I can remember, and it's so cool to walk in that station because things haven't changed since Bill took over a whole lot since 1978. And I found one of the first things I found when I walked in there. I mean, I remember this, and I haven't heard this since I was in elementary school. Every morning he would give a shout out to all the couples having their anniversaries, like some of you all talking about just a minute ago. He would play this Roy Rogers song, "My Darling, Happy Anniversary." Some of you may remember that. And I walked into the studio to do the first show, and I saw that 45 laying there that they played. It was just overwhelming, So it's just everything in your nostalgic past is always probably better than it was, but there's something really sweet about that. And that's what we're trying to recreate.
If you remember back into the 80s, there was a more famous WPTL. It was broadcast out of Charlotte. It was a television station.
I played there.
And,
in the gospel music world, I played there several times.
And I think Jimmy and Tammy Faye tried to buy WPTL call letters for radio from Bill Reck, and Bill turned them down.
I'm glad he did, because he's still going, and that is defunct down there. And like I say, I played down there a few times. It was a different thing for sure. But yeah, there's still the essence of what Bill started or took over in 1978 is still a huge part of it, you know.
Paul Irvin's trying to ask a question.
Tim,
Okay.
This is Paul Irvin.
Yes, sir.
Is there a prejudice towards having your music is so much better than most of the music they have on the late night shows, TV shows? Is there a prejudice against having more bluegrass or country music? Because it's some of the most popular music, obviously, in the country. But have you ever had an invite from one of the major networks to perform on the Late Show or Jimmy Fallon or whatever?
We one of my biggest regrets, and one of the few or only regrets I have with Balsam Range, is they had contacted us from the David Letterman show, which is, since Johnny Carson retired, is the only one of those shows I really paid attention to. And they retired that show before it came to pass. We have talked back and forth. Here's the weird thing about those shows, and we would do it again, I'm sure, at some point, but you have to pay a great deal. Either your record company or the artist pays to get on those shows. They don't pay you to come do it, you know? So, and we are still, Balsam Range, I'm saying, we still have a small town mentality. And another thing about our band is we were determined not to become a full-time band, which is what I'd done, as I said, for almost 30 years, because of just looking out into the future and trying to see things like this pandemic time coming. I have great friends in the music industry who are unbelievably popular around the world that had to let their staffs go this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, if something doesn't just come up that blows our socks off, we're in, not to sound braggadocious about it, but we're in a position where we do pick and choose. If we don't want to go, we just don't go, because we've set our lives up to where it's not all based on what the music world does. So, as far as a prejudice, it's so funny. Our favorite places to play, some of them are places that are not bluegrass places. Yeah. I'll tell you, you'll laugh at this, but our favorite places to play are like these big giant, for lack of a better term, hippie festivals. You know what I mean? And they'll have us on Americana festivals, and you know, the girls are out there spinning with hula hoops, and it's a tie-dyed world. They're not prepared, and there's mostly acoustic acts on the program, like the Telluride Bluegrass Festival in Colorado. You know, you're playing to 15,000 people, but they're not prepared for a bluegrass band that plays, I don't know how to say it, impactfully. Our pride is to play with so much drive and impact that it's almost a rock and roll level of intensity, and they're not prepared for that, and they go crazy. Right. So it is fun to play these big giant festivals, you know, to 15 or 20,000 people, and watch the reaction when true bluegrass hits them right between the eyes, you know.
Well, we really appreciate you staying home, but we really know that you have talent that could go worldwide, and is really through the streaming radio, I'm sure now. But I just wonder that I've had some work with some of the record companies back in the era of when mainly the record companies controlled what the acts were doing, and whether it's Columbia and out of Nashville particularly.
Yeah.
But thank you for all you do in your music, and keep it up.
Thank you, sir. You know, the record company, it's funny you mentioned, I started a record company in 91, and it's still the company that we're affiliated with. But the recording world, I don't know if you probably are aware of this, but the music has changed so much in the last 5 to 8 years with the advent of streaming platforms like Pandora and Spotify, these things, which are wonderful for consumers, but they're tough on artists now. You get a pittance of a royalty compared to what you always got through CDs or record sales, CD sales. People don't buy CDs anymore, unless the only time we sell a lot of CDs is when we play to a crowd and they just have to have it and they run straight to your product table. But the music is ever evolving, but it's super evolving in the last 5 to 7 years. People don't want an entire album. They just go and look at your entire list of songs and play what they want. So it's a different world for sure.
Is the station you're on the same as the Pisgah football games are on?
Yes, it is. It actually is. Pisgah football, it's so crazy. Over the last however long they've been doing those games is the biggest part of revenue for that station. And as far as advertising dollars go. So this program, my program, has really been it's been a blessing to me and the station both, because it's kind of picking up the slack where that's not been available. And now we're starting to make plans for the upcoming football season, whatever that's going to look like, that starts in February. So it's going to be really good. In fact, I'm part of the broadcasting for their sports as well, because it's a long story, but it's a lot of fun. And,
doesn't one of our members help also with that? I thought, isn't one of the Rotary members a part of that?
Jonathan Georgestad.
Yeah, Jonathan. He's one of the Jonathan and Chad Upton called the Pisgah games, and I helped them. Oh Lord, they asked me to help them do the first game that I ever was involved in last year, and it scared me to death because it was Pisgah Tuscola. I said, man, can I start out with something besides the Super Bowl? But I do the baseball for Pisgah baseball, and I guess it looks like I may be helping them in some capacity when the football season starts. So it's become the radio station centric thing, and it's a lot of fun. But Jonathan's a great guy.
Ken Howell, did you have a question? You're already unmuted.
Sorry. No, I didn't have a question. I mean, I would just say that we look forward to host the Art of Music Festival again next year. And Tim, we just appreciate y'all's partnership with us. It was pretty strange last weekend seeing Stewart Auditorium sit over there empty, but we're looking forward to it being full again in the future and working with you. So.
Well, likewise, Ken. I saw you pop up there, and it made me happy to see your face, man. I drove by Stewart last week. I was just going back from Maggie to the office here, and I just drove by there out of sad nostalgia more than anything else. That's been such a huge part of our lives for the last 4 years. And, one of the first places I ever played publicly, I think I was 13 or 14, was Stewart Auditorium with my dad. I don't even remember what the function was. But I look forward, Lord willing, to our festival happening and everything else coming back to normal in this coming year. And that festival has meant so much to us, because with Balsam Range, with that festival, we just get people that we admire musically and every other way to come and introduce them to our home folks. And it's so much fun. So Lord willing, it was kind of chewing our nails, waiting to see if anything was going to break loose that we could do it. And it's terribly sad that we couldn't this year, but we'll brace up and have a big one next year.
Amen.
Jamie Shepherd.
Hey, Tim, it's Jamie Shepherd. Tim is really an humble person. And one thing that he hasn't told you all, and maybe he doesn't even know this, but WPTL was really struggling back in the summer because they lost so many of their advertisers, because those businesses were closed or their budgets had been cut and things like that. And his radio show has all but saved that radio station this year. So Tim, thank you.
Well, I didn't know. I knew it was a hard time because, as I said, a large portion of their revenue stream was through the Pisgah football. And when that went away, that's hard. I mean, I can say this Balsam Range is a huge part of my income. And when it's shut down, it's not the easiest in the world, but if I can, be a part of keeping that station going and growing, and wherever this, I'll tell y'all this, and I probably shouldn't say it publicly yet because it may come to nothing, but we've been contacted to syndicate the show. And I initially thought that in the beginning, and people started talking about it immediately, because the only bluegrass syndicated shows that are out there now are all hosted by good friends of mine and good friends of Balsam Range. But when we were contacted, they said, no, we're not talking about bluegrass programming like you're doing on your own hometown station. We're talking about NPR and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. We're working with them, WNCW, the big NPR station. 88.7, y'all may be familiar with, have been great friends to me, and they're assisting in that. So if that comes to fruition, then the WPTL and myself, he said in 6 weeks we could be on from Guam to Alaska, you know. I don't know. I mean, we're going to hit it hard after the first year and see what comes of that. But I don't want to do anything with that would take away the small town sentimentality of what we have now. And it's a wonderful thing. But I appreciate you saying that, Jamie.
Tim, this is Cecil. I have a comment, a request, and a question.
All right.
The comment really is more to our members, our more recent members who may not know that several years ago, and I'm thinking back to President Lynn, which would have been around 2007, the Balsam Range provided a fundraiser for us at Haywood Community College. And it was very likely one of our most successful fundraisers in our history. Tim, my request is that you and David Holt and Zeb Smathers get Rhiannon Giddon here for Labor Day one year. And my question is, will any of you ever be able to teach Mark Pruitt to smile on stage?
Mark Pruitt. Well, let me see. Number one, yes, I do remember several programs at Haywood Community College. The first thing we ever put on was at the community college, and it got out of hand in a hurry. Of course, we always joke, you know, you put us on the stage for free, like Labor Day or the old thing at the college, man, we can draw you a crowd now. You charge $5 and we won't have enough for a good car wreck. That's an old music joke. But number two, we know Rhiannon Giddens, and she is amazing. And we played a few things with her. And I don't know if we could get her here for Labor Day, but we could very seriously get her here for our festival at the lake. That would be the way to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we could, as far as Mark Pruitt goes, man, he is in a perpetual smile. He calls it selling toothpaste. He said, come on, boys, let's go sell some toothpaste. So we have a blast with Mark. Mark's, you know, and I give him a hard time on stage because he's so funny. You know, he's been an old man since he was 20. And it's fun. It's fun to ride around with him. And he's funny, whether he means to or not, you know, whether he means to be or not. But he's a wonderful guy, and he can still, as the old timers around here used to say, he can still haul the mail on the banjo too.
Yes. Any other questions for Tim?
Tim, I came across the FM WPTL just by accident.
Right.
Don't remember exactly what it was, but for those of the audience who do not know, WPTL 92.9 AM and 101.7 FM. And I don't know if the hours have expanded other days besides your Tuesday and Thursday night, but they have a lot of old time, regular country music all day long after the swap shop and the obituaries.
Yes, they sure do. It's the format is kind of I guess you would say 80s or 90s country, back before country kind of evolved into this sort of rock and pop thing that it is now on mainstream radio. Which, I mean, everybody's opinion is their own opinion, and God bless them for it. But I can't. I guess I'm too much of a musical snob to listen to that stuff. And I'm too old, I guess, but I like to hear the old country that I grew up on. Whatever you grow up on is always your favorite, whether it's country or rock and roll or whatever. But yeah, they have a cool thing that people, I think, are starting to really discover as far as the music that they play aside from my program. And if our program drives people to that, then good. So yeah, they're 24 hours, man. It's amazing how that's, you know, I remember the national anthem playing about twilight. Growing up on every station, and especially a hometown station. We had two of them in Canton at the time. One was WPTL, and the other one was the sort of pop station up on Radio Hill, WWIT. And it's all talk now. It's a sports channel. So as I understand it, I believe WPTL is the only music channel in Haywood County. So it's pretty cool.
Any other questions or comments for Tim?
Steve, I don't have a comment or question for Tim, but before you dismiss us, just one more brief announcement.
All right, the floor is yours, Cecil.
I've dug back into the archives here, and today, if my technology skills work out, we're gonna, Steve dismisses us. We're gonna let Tim Surrett take us home with, from his album, Tim Surrett's Mountain Home, I've Been Waiting. And this goes back to release date of January 1, 1999. Back to you, Steve.
Very good, Cecil. Those of you who want to hang around and listen to Tim Surrett's music, free to do so. Thank you again, Tim. And if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
I've traveled on this weary road, watched the fleeting changes, tried to share some load. Now my work is finished, steps are mighty slow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. I've been waiting, waiting on the shore. Long I've traveled, ain't gonna travel no more. Shades are beating, falling, steps are getting slow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. Getting dim, but I have my Savior, I can trust in Him. Many friends are yonder by the river's flow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. I've been waiting, waiting on the shore. Long I've traveled, ain't gonna travel no more. Shades of evening falling, steps are getting slow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. Snow and angel band while across the river to the better land. Open wide the portals, play a little slow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. I've been waiting, waiting on the shore. Long I've traveled, ain't gonna travel no more. Shades of evening falling, steps are getting slow. I've been waiting, Lord, to go. Shore. Long I travel, ain't gonna travel no more. Shades of